Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Well Wisdom Podcast. We are discussing our favourite movies of the 80s, and this is the year. This is the year officially where the 80s kicks off in terms of 80s style movies. 1984. We've been preparing for this all week, believe it or not. I'm joined once again by my chums Alan and Mark.
Hello.
Hello.
We're going to dive right in as usual because there's a lot to get through, and we're going to start off with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Mark is going to kick that off. Mark, take it away.
Oh, yes, the Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom.
This is, how do you top a great film like Raiders of the Lost Ark? No, I think it's great. This is one I saw at the cinema, as 5 years old, and it left quite an impression on me. What I love about the opening is it immediately wrong foots you. It starts with this huge 1930s musical style song, with lots of flashing lights and girls
great,
dancing.
Wasn't it?
And it's great because for a split second you thought, hang on, they're playing the wrong film. It's, no, it was a very deliberate attempt to not go down the previous route of
what you
in the
would
jungle,
expect,
for Indiana Jones, or what we were led to believe. And it's great, and it's absolutely fantastic. Also, interestingly, it's also a prequel film. It's set a year before Raiders. For no actual purpose of the story, really.
Yeah, I still don't understand why.
Unless someone just made a typo with the font on the year, But it was a great way to open the film, and then you got introduced to Indiana Jones again, clad in a white dinner jacket and with a red carnation, very much like James Bond, Goldfinger, that kind of vibe, which ironically would pay off in the next film with Connery playing Indy's father. Yeah. So all those little nods and winks are all there. It's like a ride. The minute it goes from there, the film literally doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And they end up at the airport. And we're interesting enough, a cameo from Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, you won't notice it. He doesn't get any close-ups really, but
he's Arthur Weber.
Yeah, he's Arthur Weber with a very clipped English accent and a mustache and the glasses. And good heavens, aren't you Willie Scott? So it's great to have that little nod from...
Isn't Spielberg and Lucas in the background of that?
Apparently they are, yeah. They're dressed as monks or something, or they're in habits with the hoods up. So, if you can see them, I mean, you probably can see them now with Blu-ray and Ultra HD and 4K.
Well, look out for that. I'm going to get this film in a couple of weeks on 4K, so
I'll have a look for them.
So, but this is a very... The Spielberg and Lucas, they were going through divorces, weren't they? So this is a very sort of like...
This is a darker film than Raiders. Yeah. They both said it's not their favourites of all the indie films they made. They both don't like what they did with it.
I'm not surprised they don't, because it's obviously a bad point of their lives, and they just want to
they don't want to revisit it.
Yeah,
and I can appreciate that, but... for me, as a 5-year-old in the cinema, I lapped it up.
It's my favourite, I think, out of all three.
Yeah,
just because of Mulleram, I absolutely love the character Mulleram.
Yeah.
I just think he's brilliant. Just absolutely brilliant character.
Yeah, no, it's literally a ride. I remember seeing it, and it's emotions. It goes from one thing to the next and to the next.
Yeah,
the journeys that it constantly moves. It very rarely sits still, and 2 hours just kind of flies by.
I got a little piece of trivia about that. All the people in the actual Temple of Doom, all the followers on the other side of
during
the crevice,
sacrifice.
Yeah, they're all going whatever that chant is. Yeah, half of them are not people I necessarily know, but like there's a few of them I actually know that I follow the Hare Krishna movement, the ISKCON, whatever it is, Vedas, and I was brought up in that movement, and the crew, whoever it was, went over to those guys and asked for the extras for them, and they obviously agreed, and they all went over to wherever it was they shot it at. I don't know whether it was Shepperton or
Elstree.
Elstree.
Yeah, that was their lucky studios, because Lucas made his Star Wars films there, and he said to Spielberg, they're really good, they're a great crew, and they work fast and hard, and I can't fault them. So he's like, well, that's where we should make Indiana Jones.
Because it cuts away to some of them, and they're sort of going,
yeah, of course, yeah, there's close-ups.
And I noticed them, and I was like, oh, fuck me, that's him. So I went up to him at the temple afterwards, like, how did that happen? And he just explained, you know, they came to us and they said, do you want a couple of $100 for doing something?
He's really good with faces, Spielberg. You know?
Yeah, he just knew, yeah.
Because he's quite famous for doing these extreme close-ups of certain actors, and usually moments of awe when they're sort of turning around looking at something in amazement. It's kind of like his signature shot in a way. Yeah. And I think during that sequence there's lots of extreme close-ups of these.
There is a lot. There's a lot. It cuts to a good few people.
And you see that on a big cinema screen. It really does like make an impact. Because on TV you think, oh, that's quite close up, but on a huge screen it's quite intimidating. And particularly as you mentioned, Molaram.
Yeah.
There's lots of extreme close-ups of him and looking at the way he's lit, very sort of evil. And I think also what made this different from the previous film. There was an extra child element in this, in the fact that he had a sidekick who was a kid, this Chinese kid called Short Round. And this is also quite, you know, he didn't have a sidekick in Raiders. So this made it another sort of element you could relate to as a 5-year-old, you know, the fact that this kid is there, and the story is, you know, obviously to do with children as well, you know, forced to dig for these stones, you know,
the Shankara stones.
The Sankara stones. That's correct. Yeah. So it's you know, it had the extra element to have, you know, Short Round, and he's wonderfully introduced at the start where he's driving the car as a getaway car for Indy and Willie Scott. And she says, "Oh my God! For crying out loud, there's a kid driving the car."
He's got these huge sort of like
blocks because his feet can't reach the pedals.
Yeah.
And it's you know, hold on to your potato, Dr. Jones.
So what about the cultural impact though? Because I mean, like for me, what stands out is obviously the whole ritual, the voodoo ritual, whatever it was, with Kali. The goddess Kali, obviously, was the one they're worshipping in it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, that whole exposure to the cinema industry must have been a bit sort of like, okay, guys, what the fuck? Because you've obviously had the Raiders, the previous one, which is very light-hearted and swashbuckly. Yeah. And then you go to this one, which is like, whoa. I mean, you know.
I don't think, for me, I don't think, you know, as a kid, it didn't register with me. It just thought, well, we should just. You know, the bad people, we didn't sort of register who it was they were worshipping. It was just, like I said, it was just a ride, and we just sort of went with it. Yeah. But yes, obviously watching it with older eyes, you know, they but it's all kind of, they did their research on it. You know, I mean, it wasn't just things they sort of made up.
Oh, the village they go to, they were all the genuine people.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, they weren't actors at all.
They weren't actors. In fact, the main guy they speak to didn't even speak English. He learned his lines phonetically. Yeah. And Spielberg would repeat them, and then the guy would repeat
Didn't they have cue cards like next to the camera or something? I remember reading that.
He said Spielberg, didn't he? He said about the scene. He goes, "Oh, about the temple," and Spielberg said, "He goes, oh, the most darkness." And he puts his hand over his eyes, and the actor just copied him, you know, and repeated what he said.
He did well.
Yeah, it was really good.
No, it was very good, and he looked authentic, you know. And interestingly enough, it was all shot in Sri Lanka, I think. They didn't go to India, and it was shot very close to where David Lean shot Bridge on the River Kwai, which is another one of Spielberg's favourite films. And the scenes with the bats, there's a similar scene in the River Kwai where a gunshot goes off and these swarms of bats come flying out. So there's a nice little nod to that in the film. But no, visually it's.
Oh God, the cinematography is so good in this one.
It's all good. It's the same. He's the same cinematographer on all 3 original films.
It's the deity at the centre back, and it's very foreboding, and there's all these weird sculptures everywhere. And
child
stuff
slaves
as well.
are all in darkness, and they're all sort of covered in dirt and things. And that's why when you know, they come to be rescued, there's a bit of light literally at the end of the tunnel where they run towards, and it's.
I remember seeing a teaser for that on TV at some point, and it's the sequence where they're on the cart and the cart's hurtling towards the brake bit.
Oh yeah,
and that's when the teaser ends. I was like, I have to find out what happens.
It's a literal cliffhanger.
Yeah, it was literally.
The minecart chase is something that was left over from Raiders. They wrote that in the script for Raiders.
Oh, okay,
it was going to be, I guess, you know, with the Nazis chasing Indy and Salah in the minecart, but they couldn't squeeze it all in. It got thrown out with script revisions, so they saved it for this one. Yeah, an exciting chase. You know.
It's good.
But I mean, ultimately, it's just a really fun adventure.
It is,
and that's all it has to be. That's all it is.
It wasn't trying to be anything else.
No.
Other than keeping in the spirit of the first one, and then it amps it up with these darker elements, and then these child perspective elements as well.
But that is hearkening to actual real life stuff, and I don't really want to get into it. But the stones, the sacred stones, are genuinely real. They're not obviously the actual stones, but in India there are loads of stones which are considered sacred, and so it is very much mirroring real life, which is what I loved about it.
That was great film, great ride, and as we say, we've got some favourite lines that we all still quote today.
Quote today,
with like I still like nice try, Lao She.
Slams the door, Lao Che Airlines.
Yeah, it's a great. He's great
awesome.
at those little visual jokes
that
he does.
I love it. All right. So moving on to Ghostbusters. Yes.
Who are you going to call?
Well, not you guys.
Okay,
so the original Ghostbusters. I tell you, I don't think. I think I only watched it all the way through once, and then it was literally bits and pieces here and there.
I mean, the first time I saw this was probably about '85. And even then, it was pirate video.
I didn't like this as much as other people, but I still respect it. Yeah.
Well, we were talking at the start of the podcast for the the 80s, and it's really sort of kicking in. And this was the year, I think, that the year of special effects in films really went up another gear, because this is an effects film. It's not constantly effects film, but the effects that they do put in, and it's a mixture of special effects with the proton packs and the practical, and then the practical model effects for some of the ghost terror dogs.
Dogs, yeah. And obviously the beams are just rotoscoped in.
Yeah, but the beams are they're rotoscoped in with a combination of fantastic sound effects. Because it reminds me a bit like of Back to the Future in the next year. The sound effects really made an impact of as much as the visual effects. The sound of proton packs being turned on was such a unique sound. I think one of the teaser trailers for the Ghostbusters Afterlife literally just had that at the end, and then the date of the film being released. It was the sound of proton pack being turned on.
It's a very recognisable sound.
Very distinctive, and how they achieved it, I don't know. But it's and I don't want to know. And initially it was set in the future. It wasn't set in contemporary New York. It was going to be set in the future where there's whole outlets of Ghostbusters teams, because there's ghosts roaming around in the future, and they were one particular department of a Ghostbusters team, and it was headed up by Peter Venkman, who in the original script was going to be John Belushi from the Blues Brothers, but by the time they got the script, the project running, John Belushi had passed away sadly, so Bill Murray was brought in, and also initially Eddie Murphy was going to be Winston. And he was more of a sort of commando type guy, a Navy SEAL type, action guy. So it was going to be set in the future and everything. So when they come to get a budget together, it was going to be too much money to set this in a future with.
I was going to say that must have been a budget.
So a little rewrite was written to a more contemporary time, and also instead of having whole teams of Ghostbusters, you just had one team, and obviously the origin of how they started. So that's the initial thing of how they come about. So unfortunately, Eddie Murphy dropped out. Because at the time he was coming off for Trading Places, and then he went on to do another big film, which I guess I'll mention later on. But yeah, it was really written. So it's more of an origin story. The first kind of 45 minutes, I guess, or maybe less, is to do with them. They're three.
It's them gearing up as a company.
They're working at a university, doing science experiments with students, and
shocking them and stuff.
And Bill Murray says using it to chat girls up with, pretending that they're psychic and they're not. Then
they pull the funding, don't they?
Yeah, they pull the funding. So they basically, but then they do witness a ghost at the New York Public Library, and then so they come up with the idea to think, well, we can actually between Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, they can sort of come up with an idea. It's like we can actually build a system where we can catch ghosts and contain them. So hence the Ghostbusters idea is born. But it's you know, as I say, it's really an effects-driven film, but there's lots of comedy in it because they've all got comedy backgrounds.
Oh, Bill Murray. I mean, he spouts out that classic line after the first one. We came, we saw, we kicked his ass.
Yeah, and it's totally improvised. The majority of their scenes are improvised.
Yeah.
You got Rick Moranis in there as well.
Rick Moranis again, Lewis Tully, a role which is originally written for John Candy.
Yeah.
And
I know Rick Moranis just nails.
No,
it. You want to come round for a cup of water or something?
Yeah, he's like, and he's constantly pestering the lovely Sigourney Weaver.
So was this a cult film straight away, or did it sort of grow like Blade Runner?
It grew. No, it was a big thing. It wasn't. I think critics liked it. The comedic elements combined with the special effects. There hadn't been a film like that previously. With that balance, you didn't have, you know, because you had the Saturday Night Live guys do the Blues Brothers, but this is combining a new genre with special effects. So it was genre combining, really.
Plus, you had a catchy theme tune as well.
And pop song. This is, of course, the decade of the theme song, and you had a huge hit with this song and a music video that went with it, featuring lots of
cast, wasn't it?
Yeah, the cast as well as other famous people like John Candy. Funny enough, was
John Candy, Danny DeVito,
Ghostbusters, and Chevy Chase, and you know, all sort of big faces of that year, of that decade.
Well, there it is. I mean, you know, it's like what else is there to say about it? It's a cultural icon, I think.
Yeah,
this film.
It's a phenomenon.
But yeah, the little horror moments, and you know, it was really more of a horror year, I suppose.
Which is a great segue into.
Is it too obvious?
Who cares? Great segue into Alan's Horror Corner. So let's kick off that awesome, wonderful jingle.
Alan's Horror Corner.
Right, 1984. We saw cult children, hockey mask wearing psychopaths returning. Little girls starting fires, little green monsters, and a certain dream demon with knives for fingers.
And
you're teasing the horror corner.
Yes. Pizza face almost, you know, the melty cheese.
That's the one. That's the one. But yeah, we'll kick off with Old Faithful. Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Is he wearing his hockey mask?
He's wearing his hockey mask in this one.
Finally.
He was wearing it toward the last quarter of the third film.
Okay.
And this came off the heels of that Paramount were kind of a little bit worried that they will associate themselves with like a really violent series of films, so they want to try and distance themselves and thought,
okay,
this one will be the last one, hence the final chapter.
Right.
And this one actually has in small roles Fackler, I think it's Bruce Marler, I think the actor's name is, from Police Academy.
Oh yeah.
Which we'll talk about later on.
Yes.
It also had Crispin Glover, George McFly.
Oh, wow.
He's a victim of Jason in this one. I think he gets a corkscrew to the hand, then a meat cleaver to the face.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, he's
very inventive.
Yeah, he was. He was like a loser in the. You know, he wanted to chat the girls up, but he was too shy and all that. And I think he's more confident for him calling him a dead fuck all the time, because that's how he associates himself.
Nice.
But yeah, this one also had Corey Feldman in it.
Oh wow.
Corey Feldman played a little kid called Tommy Jarvis, he was you know a bit creative. We'll say he used to create like masks,
right?
Like a latex mask and keep him in his room and stuff like that. And he lived in this nice log cabin with his sister and his mother. And I believe the mother becomes a victim of Jason in this film. And it's actually Corey Feldman who offs Jason in this movie.
No way.
He actually kills Jason. He actually fools Jason at the end by dressing up as him, as he would look in the first film in the lake.
Yeah.
That kind of stuns Jason, thinking, am I looking at me from... Because Jason's not too smart.
Yeah.
Am I looking at myself from whenever? And at that point, he sort of drops his machete or something, and Corey Feldman sort of picks it up and then literally buries it in the side of Jason's head.
No way. So he's taken down by a child.
Yeah.
This is interesting because I haven't seen hardly any of these films.
Yeah.
But I sent something to you in the week, funnily enough, about what's your favourite Friday the 13th film, and of course there's what, 8?
For the Paramount series, there was 8 of them. Yeah.
8 of them, and the majority of the comments all said final chapter, part 4. This one, you know.
Yeah.
And there was quite a lot of strong things saying it's the most scary or the most atmospheric and the most chilling in places. You know?
This one brought Tom Savini back He was like the special effects makeup man, if you like.
Oh, yeah.
He did the first film. He didn't do 2 or 3.
Right.
But he was invited back by Paramount because he says if anyone's going to kill Jason, it must be the man who created him.
Yeah.
Makeup wise.
Excellent.
So,
And Tom Savini's really famous.
He's a legend.
Yeah, he's great. He's great. So yeah, he comes back, and Jason's makeup's a lot worse this time. Not as in bad, but he looks more grotesque when the hockey mask comes off.
Yeah.
Because I think Corey Feldman's the one who takes a shot at him and cuts the strap, and the mask was flying off his head, and he gets to look at this sort of.
You get to see his deformed
face.
Yeah.
Right before he gets to, because there's a shot of Jason actually when he gets the machete in the head, he kind of goes down sideways, and obviously the hilt of the machete hits the floor, and then Jason's head sort of slides down the machete, and it's kind of gross. It's kind of gross, and then little Corey Feldman takes the machete and hacks at him, shouting "Die, die, die!"
And how old were you when you saw this?
I saw it in VHS, so 84. I probably would have seen this when I was 6. So don't worry, I'm not messed up. I'm not messed up. I'm okay.
But you knew it was not real.
I knew it wasn't real.
Yeah,
it's just a movie at the end of the day. You know, kids these days, they think everything's real and they want to go out and do something about it.
Yeah,
it wasn't real.
Had a charm to them.
They do. They do. But yeah, that's Friday 4. I'll say also this year we had Children of the Corn, the Stephen King.
The King story.
That was.
Spawned endless sequels.
I think about 3 sequels it got. I think.
Oh really?
Yeah.
No, there's more than that.
I was only aware of Children of the Corn 1, 2, and 3, and 4.
I don't know whether it's the same sort of sequence, but I know that there's a lot more than 3.
Because I think the lead child in this, he's got that medical condition where he looks 12, but he's not. The lead kid in this was 24.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 12.
Like the Karate Kid.
Yeah, and he's an evil-looking little bastard. He's got proper like little black hat like the Mormons wear. Not Mormons, the Amish. Sorry.
Amish, right?
And yeah, he's basically got all the kids in the town.
Yeah.
To begrudgingly kill their parents.
Oh God.
So all the adults are dead.
Wow.
And this little kid basically leads him in like a religious sort of sect and all that. And this actually stars Linda Hamilton. She stars in this film. And obviously she comes across, she's driving with her boyfriend down this highway, and this kid literally just runs out into the road because he obviously doesn't want to be part of it. He escapes. They think they struck him with the car, but they didn't. He's actually been knifed in the back, and it's grisly. It's terrible because it's a child, and you're not really seeing these kind of things.
So it's a lot like that other story, and I've really forgotten the name of it now. Someone please help me out. Where it's just a bunch of boys on an island.
Oh,
you know what it is?
Lord of the Flies.
That's it, Lord of the Flies.
This is very much Lord of the Flies.
Reminds me of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen. I don't know the story of the Children of the Corn. I am a fairly big fan of Stephen King, but no, I've not read Children of the Corn at all. But it does, from what you've just described.
Yeah, he tells all the kids that there's a deity that exists in the cornfields,
right?
And should you embark through, should you not adhere to everything you've been told, this deity will take you.
Must be pretty big to spawn all those sequels then.
Oh, he made his money.
Yeah,
he did make his money. I think it's probably one of the more successful Stephen King film adaptations. I mean, I spoke about Cujo, I think the last episode.
Yeah,
that was just like a one-off about a killer St. Bernard.
Is there a lot of effects in this?
Not really. It's all practical.
Yeah,
it's all practical stuff. From what I remember, there's no sort of like Ghostbusters and no rotoscoping like that. It's all practical.
Yeah,
it's all practical effects.
No, but I mean with the practical effects, because obviously there's a mixture in Ghostbusters of practical and visual.
And this one it's all shot on location. I think it's done somewhere in Arkansas or somewhere like that.
Yeah,
that kind of
Arkansas
in the south.
In the south, yeah.
Like your best.
Southern Fields.
Yes.
But also we had another Stephen King one that year, Firestarter with Drew Barrymore.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, little girl who just starts fires. I think he got remade recently with Zac Efron. I think he's in it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, fuck's sake.
But that's all I'm going to say on that one because
there's nothing to say.
Nothing to say about that really because
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Little girl starts fires and that stuff.
Stop it.
But we'll move on to
pack it in.
We'll move on to Jason's. He's the yin. We'll move on to the yang.
Oh yeah.
Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Was this the first one?
This was the very first one by Wes Craven.
Right, yes.
Who got the idea from a very creepy man he once saw in a dirty brown hat and sort of striped sweater and all that. And this is who Wes Craven adapted the Freddy Krueger character from.
Right. And where did the glove with the knives come from?
This was all from Wes Craven's head.
Really?
Yeah, he created this.
Amazing.
Because the opening of this film is actually it's all done really gritty, and it's all close-ups of this glove being made.
Yeah.
Because the blade's being sharpened.
That's right.
And he's like hammering it and soldering it and forming all the little pieces that go on.
So isn't Freddy's story, his backstory, explained in this?
Yeah, it's in this one. It's hinted that he is a child killer.
Right.
I think he was a caretaker at a school.
Yeah.
And he would take kids and he would kill them. But all the parents literally ganged up on him. They cornered him in his little shack.
Yeah.
And they literally set the whole thing on fire.
Right.
And left it at that. Even the police were in on it as well. So
really?
they thought, okay, we'll just let him burn because
it's quite a dark opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think the police actually captured him and he got away on a technicality.
Ah, okay.
And even the police said that's not right.
And it's Robert Englund playing him.
This is Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger.
As normal, though.
As normal, yeah.
Yeah.
So you get Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
And it's also starred Heather Langenkamp and in his first role, Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Johnny.
That's right.
Johnny Depp plays Glenn, Heather Langenkamp's girlfriend, she plays Nancy.
Right.
Good old Heather, I love Heather.
And this is quite a grisly film. Freddy's makeup is really, really nasty.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a kid,
really
I didn't
nasty.
see it when I was little, but I remember seeing pictures of Freddy and like this kind of...
Because it's like, he's got the kind of pizza face look. And, but there's bits of flesh that will hang off his face a little bit.
But what struck me that he's always grinning in all the pictures.
Yeah,
that's what made it more terrifying.
That's a fact. When you fall asleep and you're in his dream world, there's always shots of him like dragging his finger.
He's always scraping it across
pipes and stuff because
such a horrific sound.
You always seem to be trapped in some sort of industrial area.
Yeah,
that's kind of like Freddy's place, like a furnace. You're always in this kind of place, and this is where he brings all his victims in.
But it was such a unique concept because it's like
we all dream, right?
Yeah, so
exactly.
you can't get away from your own dreams, so don't go to sleep unless you want to get killed. It's just like, oh fuck, how do I just, I
mean, you'll see on the poster. You'll see on the poster on the screen. It says on the top, sort of right there. It says "Sleep kills." That's the tagline for the movie.
Yeah.
This is Friday the 13th. I wasn't so struck by. I mean, it was just a guy in a mask just hacking people with axes and machetes and stuff. Yeah. For some reason, the element of Freddy Krueger scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Well, you were scared to go to sleep and dream.
Yeah, so I thought he's going to get me in my sleep, and there's no. I mean, I sort of had my door open a little bit, and thinking
had a little night light on.
There's no one peeking through. Yeah. There's no. There's no guy with a hockey mask coming because I know he's dead for a fact. He got killed in the movie.
Yeah. But so how old were you when you saw this then?
Nightmare on Elm Street. Probably about 6 again.
Really?
Yeah, my parents rented it from the video shop.
Wow.
They did that. I should say they did actually. They were good parents. They did say to me, "This is a scary film, and you shouldn't be watching it."
Yeah, no, please don't assume that Alan's parents were bad people. They were very lovely people.
Yeah, but I just
they want to give you a great.
We had a great living room setup where I could actually sit on the beside the sofa, and if I saw something that's really bad, I could just duck behind it.
Right.
That was my sort of thing. Where I drew the line was Hellraiser. I drew the line there. That was 87, but we'll get to that.
Oh, that's
I left the house for that one.
It's ran down the street.
I actually ran for that one.
Yeah, that really.
But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a
classic.
It's a classic. Yeah, let's say this kickstarted 4 sequels to this, all called Nightmare on Elm Street. We then we got Freddy's Dead in I think 92, 93. West Coast Nightmare in about 94.
Yeah. And
then we didn't see Freddy again until Freddy vs Jason.
Lovely.
But that should lead us on to sort of horror film, but comedy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this was a great one. My wife loves this film. It's one of her best films of all time. Gremlins.
Yeah, Gremlins.
This one terrified me.
Yeah.
This one, I completely ignored the whole comedy side of it, and I think what really freaked me out was the process of them becoming from Mogwais into actual Gremlins, because they would mash up into this weird kind of pulpy
cocoon thing
mess. Yeah, and it was
all sort of like, it seemed like it fused to the ground. That's right.
Yeah, that always freaked me out.
No, this is a favourite. This is a Christmas classic. This one.
And this is another one that Spielberg produced, right?
That's right. Yeah, he's actually cameos in the film as well.
Yeah.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah, when Billy's dad's he's an inventor and he goes to like a convention and he's on the phone to the family and all that or trying to get through or whatnot, and
Yeah.
and some guy passes on like a little cart. That's Spielberg.
Sort of tricycle car thing driving by, and it's Spielberg. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah,
This is produced by his company Amblin, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, I don't know if this was another contender for a PG-13 or this film, or it was in the balance, because it was the horror elements and the comedy elements.
Yeah, I always remember this being a 15.
It was a 15 here, but I think in America, I don't know if
it may have been a PG-13. Yeah,
it may have.
Been.
It had these, as Pete mentioned, it had these sort of scary elements, but the comedic side of it, I'd laugh at, because you got this wonderful gizmo, the Mogwai, and it's very cute and cutesy, and
little hummers and
Hummers,
adorable.
Yeah, you can't help but love this little thing, and the big eyes, and and it's introduced, and it's in this kind of Spielbergian sort of town they live in. It's actually the same town, or the square is the same square from Back to the Future. It was on the Universal background.
Okay, yeah.
They just covered it in fake snow.
You'll recognise that set. If you're a budding movie enthusiast, you will recognise that set in a lot of different movies.
Yeah, they reused it quite a lot.
Yeah.
Is it called this particular town Kingston Falls, is it?
That's it, yeah, very American sounding town name. And yeah, they've got these sort of comedic elements, but then once the gremlins start to appear, the horror moments do kick in. But there is a weird balance, because one scene I remember is of when the gremlins are out and they're crashing the town, and Phoebe Cates plays the girl, works in a bar.
That's it.
And she's trying to keep up with everyone, and they're all going nuts in this bar, getting drunk and playing cards. And there's one
on the old
swirling around on the fan,
ceiling fan,
and Peter Gabriel's playing on the jukebox. It's just
was this the one with the spider, the gremlin spider?
No, that was the new batch.
Yeah. One scene that sticks out in my mind is the woman who charges into the bank, and she hates dogs.
Or Mrs. Deagle.
Mrs. Deagle, and she sort of ties. They think it's Mrs. Deagle who's tied up the dog in
Barney.
the Christmas lights, Barney.
And
it's not. It's the Gremlins, but they assume it's her. And the Gremlins go around to her house and rewire her electric chair that goes up the stairs.
Chairlift, yeah.
The chairlift, and she goes whoosh. And she takes off.
You get that close up, like a scream.
Yeah, and it's such it's a mixture of the horror and the comedy. I remember loving that as a kid, because I thought she's so horrible to this dog, and she goes flying through the window and over the window. And I think that, to me, that kind of sums up Gremlins. It's got those comedic moments, like them sitting in a cinema and they're all going absolutely bananas, and Snow White comes on and they all be quiet and they're all entranced by Snow White.
Singing,
and they all start singing Hi Ho. And then it's again flipped again. When I mentioned Phoebe Cates, she does this monologue about how her dad died dressed up as Santa Claus, and it's done very straight. And
true, actually.
And the thing, and it's very touching and moving. And you think, oh, well, this is a bit unusual. So it kind of flips backwards and forwards.
It's a proper genre bending film.
Of styles, and again effects with the gremlins themselves. They're mainly puppets, right?
Yeah, they're only good. There's a shot of Stripe when they spot him, and he's a hopping.
That's right.
There's a great sound of his feet hitting the ground.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they done that, because
wasn't
amazing.
it some of it stop motion, or am I?
Could very well have been,
because it was still viable at this point.
Yeah. You can see in the shot. There's little shots of when Billy's teaching Gizmo the piano, and he falls off the thing and he falls into and hurts himself. So
that's because
he takes him into the bathroom.
Yeah, that's because he takes the Polaroid out and takes a picture of him. That's right.
That's right.
Start with a ball.
So he's injured himself. So he takes him into the bathroom, but you can see there's a shot. You can think he's got him in his arms, but you can actually see the puppet sitting there already, and he pretends to put him there, and then of course he puts the light on it, it's already there. So you can kind of see all the little smoke and mirrors things, but the horror moments, they're great. Like the fight in the kitchen is
well, that's always cut on TV as well.
Yeah, they cut that.
My wife hates that. She hates the fact that they keep cutting it. She gets annoyed.
But it's a very inventive way to using what's sort of close by.
One gets done in the blender. She knifes one on the chopping board, and then the other one.
I remember the blender one.
And then she sprays one in the face until he backs up into the microwave, closes him in there, and turns it on.
The microwave one remembers me because it's the noise it makes when he does. It's like
it starts cracking.
And then the punchline is like the ping.
Yeah. And then Billy gets one not a couple minutes later.
Oh, he does.
The Christmas tree.
Yeah, with the sword.
Yeah, with the sword. He cuts his head off. His head lands in the fire. That's nasty.
Yeah, that's quite a great visual shot as well.
And that's right before Stripe escapes.
Yeah, I remember it as a kid, because as you say, they used to cut that bit on TV, but
Always.
It was you know, something we liked as kids. So you know, we loved its humour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great blend.
That wraps up this year's.
Although I should say, it would lead on to horror sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terminator. This is the start of something big and absolutely wonderful. So Cameron came up with this idea from this really horrible dream he had whilst he was wrapping up Piranha 2, and he approached another writer, William Wisher Jr., and he helped cultivate this idea. He sells it on to Orion Pictures and makes a deal. And so it's essentially about a cyborg assassin that comes back from the future to assassinate a lady called Sarah Connor, whose child is leader of the resistance movement of a artificial intelligence called Skynet, which takes over at a certain point and destroys mankind. It mostly destroys mankind, and there's only a few left. That's essentially the plot. So this Terminator comes back in time to hunt her down, but the resistance, John Connor sends back Kyle Reese, who is charged with protecting her, but Kyle Reese is a human and the Terminator obviously isn't. So Schwarzenegger plays the Terminator, and he plays it so well. This literally propelled his career. It was like, boom, you know, okay, this is it.
Young Conan previously, hadn't he?
Yeah, but it was sort of, you know, I think it was the fact that he had played Conan, and then all of a sudden he played that, like this kind of...
it's quite a change.
Yeah, and when you strip it back, it is nothing but a slasher movie. It's like a sort of, not a...
Yeah.
Because no one really dies apart from one person or something, which was like, oh no, two people, which like the two variants of the people who are called Sarah Connor. They're the same name. But you know, but you can actually it's the same beats of a sort of a stalker slasher thing.
Yeah, I can see you know, segues nice from the horror corner. I suppose he is like a Jason type guy. You know, instead of a machete, he's got guns and.
He's got that immortal essence about him.
Yeah, there's no emotions, and he's relentless.
I think what it did was that it started off this whole. You know, if Blade Runner didn't do it, then this certainly did, which was like this whole sort of dystopian, sci-fi, pessimistic sort of like view of the future, and people were just loving it. They loved all this sci-fi. It was why they started pushing it, and I think this was the. Correct me if I'm wrong. This was the first big movie that embraced animatronics and puppetry, because you had the exoskeletons, which were impossible to achieve. You couldn't do a full shot of an exoskeleton without it looking shit. So you'll notice whenever you see them in the opening, it's only from the waist up, or you never see it all. It's always panning up or down, but you know, majority it's just the top half, and the reason why is because there's some dude underneath, you know, doing all this stuff. But you know, this is why I love 80s, or it's the big reason why I love 80s movies, is because they just embraced animatronics, and they did the best they could, you know, with Jim Henson and the Stan Winston.
Who did this one? Was it Stan?
Stan Winston, yeah. This is his signature all over it.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's a cultural phenomenon, and I mean, there's not much more I can really say about it. It's a roller coaster ride, and when it's done, it's over, and you're just left breathing. You're like, oh, what the fuck?
This is quite a low budget film, though.
Oh, very low. Yeah, I think they only spent 6.4 million, and they made 78.3. It's not even in the top 10 for this year, according to Wikipedia.
But I mean, for $6 million, I mean that's done well in for 1984, and from what I remember of it, it's visually very striking. Obviously, a lot of it takes place in that time contemporary America, but it's at night time, but he's very inventive. James Cameron, I always thought he's got a terrific eye for the visuals.
Yeah.
You know, he's got such a grand scope, even though it's like not a widescreen film. He's got a very wide lens on things, and he gives it an epic scope. You know, he's very good technically. I think he's always fantastic.
It's only shot 185, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. The later ones went wider. Funny enough, I saw it back to front. I saw the second Terminator 2 first. When it came out, we went to someone's house after school and watched that one, and then it was only later on I saw Terminator 1.
Like how I saw Star Wars.
Yeah, it was like I saw Jaws. I saw Jaws 2 first. And on TV, and then when Schwarzenegger
agreed to play the role, he was, I don't know whether he was already committed to Conan the Destroyer, but he had to break for 9 months to do Conan, the sequel, and that period of time allowed Cameron to finesse the script and also start penning the script for Aliens, and because I can't remember who it is approached him about it, but they wanted him to do the sequel, so that's where he he had that time to write that, and I don't think that would have happened if
So they had a small window in which to sort of make this film. Yeah, of course he had Conan the Destroyer this year.
Yeah.
The sequel.
I mean, the Undertoner which freaked me out when I think Arnie's driving that petrol tanker, isn't he?
Yeah.
And it crashes or something like that, and explodes, massive big ball of fire, and you think, oh, that's it, gone.
It's done.
He's done.
And then
all of a sudden, this exoskeleton comes out. I'm thinking, oh shit, okay.
Yeah.
So that's what he looks like underneath, because you get a little shot of him when he pulls his eye out, and that's a terrifying shot.
Yeah. I mean, so the effects in that scene weren't the best, but it still was a bit...
At the time, they were nasty.
Yeah.
They were horrifying.
Yeah.
That whole sequence where he's got the scalpel and he's literally got cut this artificial human eye out that he has, and it reveals that red sort of exoskeleton eye, and he has to wear the sunglasses, which he has in the poster.
It's a very striking image, because even if you hadn't seen the film, you knew what the Terminator was.
Yeah.
And you had this red glow from behind the sunglasses.
That's it. So we left wondering, thinking, are we actually going to see him as this or exoskeleton?
Amazing.
But it was Schwarzenegger's look as well. I don't know whether they shaved his eyebrows or whether they just latexed over it, but there was one was obviously, where he's looking around like really slowly.
Yeah, he doesn't.
It was just like so fucking made me scared of it.
Robotic in a way, because he doesn't say much, and he doesn't really blink much either. So he sort of moves very robotically.
Yeah. It's got that movement to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
so good.
And the way Linda Hamilton takes him out in the end, was it the old the press?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think is it Michael Biehn has a grenade?
Yeah.
And he manages to get that in him, and it goes off. He gets killed in the blast, and the T-800 is like blown in half, and it's just left them crawling. And
it's just the top half crawling off.
And kudos to Sarah Connor. I mean, she met a guy first night, fell in love with him, and he was wearing dirty pants and no underwear.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that's love.
That's love, baby.
That just proves that you can dress like a twat and charm your way into anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no, awesome. Thank you so much, Cameron, for Terminator. That was really good.
Brilliant movie.
Okay, so let's move on to something that's a little bit more light-hearted. You could say Beverly Hills Cop.
Yeah, another big film this year. It was rival Ghostbusters and Temple of Doom for the box office. This is a surprise hit film. This is Simpson Bruckheimer again, coming off of Flashdance, and Eddie Murphy, the already a huge star off of Trading Places and 48 Hours. Mm-hmm. This really cemented his part in the 80s of summed up that decade. He was literally on fire in this film. Originally, it was developed as a vehicle for Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was less a comedy. It was more of an straight action film of a cop going to Beverly Hills to avenge his friend's death. And it's more of a straight up action thing for him. But he didn't like the direction it was going in. But the ideas that he came up with, he wrote into his own script, which was Cobra. He made it a year or two later. So the script obviously went around Hollywood, and then because Murphy was such hot property, it was kind of tailored a little bit more towards him. And then he, of course, with his improv background, he added his own comedic touches to it. So ostensibly, it's about a guy going to Beverly Hills to avenge his friend's death, who's killed in Detroit. He's Eddie Murphy plays a character called Axel Foley, who's a cop in Detroit. And he takes some leave from there to go to Beverly Hills to find out who killed his friend. And in Beverly Hills, it's such a contrast to dirty Detroit at that time. Beverly Hills is very clean and permanent sunshine, and the police are all super smart, very well turned out. And he's just walking around in his jeans and trainers and hoodie, But of course, as the story progresses, he meets the big bad guy who's played by the wonderful Stephen Burkoff, kind of English king of overacting. We saw him previously in Octopussy, playing the deranged Russian General Orlov.
That's right.
Foley's on the ground.
Foley's on the ground. Yes, he's very eccentric in it. He's very low-key performance, because he's kind of famed for his freaked out shouting moments, but he's a bit dialed down in this one. He's more effective for it. And it also started the trope of having an English actor as the main villain in a Hollywood blockbuster. He sort of set the trend, so to speak. So he's the big bad guy, and so Eddie Murphy uses his streetwise tricks, because he always says, I wasn't always a cop, so he does a lot of things that kind of bend the rules of police work in order to get, you know, the guy he's after. But he's given 2 police chaperones, played by Judge Reinhold and John Ashton, as this guy Taggart and Rosewood. They sort of have to chaperone him around, and so he gets quite attached to them, and so they end up sort of helping him solve the case. I love it because it's wildly entertaining. It's got the action moments are few and far between, but they're well executed. But it's the comedy that really makes it. Eddie Murphy and that laugh really make this really make this. There's a wonderful scene where he goes into the shop to find his friend who works in this boutique, and there's this character called Serge. This one is a throwaway character, but
it's fucking brilliant.
Absolutely, and you can see Eddie Murphy laughing in the take. He's sort of, you know, get the fuck out of here. You know, he's very he just riffing with the guy. They're like a couple of jazz musicians. They're riffing off each other with improvisations, and they liked him so much that they sort of kept him in whenever they had to do a scene with him. He'd be in. There's a scene when Judge Reinhold goes in and he was, would you like an espresso? And he's just like, yeah, you know, would you want it with a lemon twist? And he's just like, yeah, sure.
It's very nice.
If it's not too much trouble. No, don't be stupid. He makes the most normal line sound absolutely hilarious.
Could you tell that Axel Foley is here to see?
It's great, and so I love the fact that they embrace those sort of characters, and it sort of punctuates the film throughout. So you got a lot of films this year, you got the kind of serious moments mixed with the comedic moments. They work great. And it ends with this kind of huge kind of shootout in the big mansion. It's, as Taggart and Rose would say, it's very much like they're caught in a corner, and it's like, oh, this is just like the end of Butch Cassidy, you know, when they're almost out of ammo and they're just being shot at from every angle. It's great. It's a nice, short, sharp film. It's got great soundtrack. Harold Faltermeyer does the score, and also the songs. Another great theme song from this year is by Glenn Frey from the Eagles. It's called "The Heat Is On."
Oh yeah.
And it was a great song for this film. It's you know, it looks beautiful.
It's another great example of a time capsule movie as well.
Because it is.
You know, you'll find that a lot of these 80s movies open with establishing shots of the city.
And you can see, like, Detroit's very completely opposite to Beverly Hills, but you can see how it was years ago before all these places were sort of underdeveloped.
The first time I saw this movie, I was at school.
Excellent.
The teacher showed us it. I think it was one of the last days before, you know, summer break or whatever. And he was like, "Oh, I brought a movie for you guys to watch," and it was like Beverly Hills Cop, and we were just like, "What?"
Yeah.
It would never happen today.
No way.
Because it was like, this is sort of like a fairly adult movie, and we were allowed to watch it.
Violence and swearing as well. It
was great. None of us left. We were all hooked on it. It was brilliant.
So speaking of police, another sort of comedy film.
Police Academy.
Police Academy. This is a great one, wasn't it?
This is it must have been a big one because it spawned no less than
6 sequels.
Yeah.
Police Academy 1 to 6, and then Mission to Moscow in the 90s.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of the last one.
Yeah, but it's amazing that a film like this we're going to spawn so many sequels. You know,
I believe we've got a Police Academy film pretty much every year.
Every year, yeah. So it could be
so easily they were made like a carry-on movie. They were shot in the space of, I don't know, 4 weeks or something.
They must have done, yeah. But what's your memories of this, Alan?
Well, I saw this on TV. This was on because this was the one that was rated 15. All the other subsequent films were rated PG.
Ah, right.
This was the 15 one because it had like nudity in there.
A lot of nudity, yeah.
With the guy who uses like the Spanish accent.
Oh yeah, the smoothie guy.
The smoothie guy, and he's always like, you know, putting like the
drag on to
have
sex with all the girls.
The women's block, yeah. And of course, you know.
Which is completely normal.
Exactly, and there'll be like shots of, you know, women topless and whatnot.
Yeah,
that's what got on the 15 rating.
Right.
Probably the slight racism as well.
Yeah, of course.
Certain characters.
Yeah.
Or certain character.
Right.
Was this the one where Zeb appeared, or was that?
No, he didn't appear
later on.
He appeared in number 2 as a villain.
So Steve Gutenberg was
with
the main character, I guess we can say, is Mahoney.
Mahoney, yeah, he was the main character in this movie.
He's parking cars initially at the start of the film and refuses to park this guy's car because he says there's no more spaces, and
go over toupee.
Yeah, and he's just like, just park it, butt breath. And he's like, oh, okay. He's got Frankie Goes to Hollywood on the radio, and he just like floors the car, and his like wheel spins it out and somehow flips it on 2 wheels and parks it between 2 cars. And he goes, wow, wouldn't you believe it? It fits. I can't believe it. So ultimately he's in trouble with the police. It's not his first time.
And that's where he meets Larval Jones.
Yes,
in custody, isn't it?
In custody, and Jones is the Motormouth Jones. He can do any sound effect, including machine gun noises. Is his speciality in this one, which comes in handy later on in the film. But he's they're sort of a great kind of double act. Those two, aren't they? It's usually Mahoney and Jones always together.
Yeah, them two for the
in subsequent films.
Because I think Mahoney's last one was 4.
Yeah,
because he rides off with Sharon Stone, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, not a bad judge.
Yeah,
but no, with this one, so Mahoney's basically given an option to either do the time or he's given a chance to enrol in the police academy. So obviously he takes that option, but does his best to get himself thrown out, much to the charging of, in this film, Lieutenant Harris, later to become Captain Harris.
Yeah, and then you've got Sergeant Callahan.
Yeah, she's actually
Harris because she's obviously already an established police officer.
Yeah, so so Harris is basically the butt of all the jokes in this film. So he's played by this great actor, G.W. Bailey. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
you can't imagine. You think of Police Academy, he's the guy I think of.
I mean, he loves it. I've seen an interview with him.
Yeah,
and he says people come up to me in the street and they say, "Oh, you know, I loved you as Captain Harris," and he's like, "I'm getting treated like a rock star." It's amazing.
Oh, he was much loved. He was just fucking hilarious.
Because he wasn't in the initial sequels, but he came back, didn't he?
It was someone else for a.
He wasn't in 2 or 3.
Right.
Yeah. He came back for 4 and onwards because I think was it Captain Mauser in the second film and then Commandant Mauser the third film. They missed a trick not putting Harris and Mauser together.
No, that would have been epic.
Art Matrano as Mauser.
He was good. He was good though. Yeah. I mean, he was no Harris, but he was just.
I mean,
good.
We didn't even get Proctor until
4.
No, he was actually in 2, wasn't he? With Mauser.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, Proctor turned up in 2. He was under Mauser.
He knows the address of the Blue Oyster Bar.
He's funny enough, yeah.
And that's another great running gag in this series of the
Blue Oyster Bar.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you get away with that today.
No, because all the gay people in this bar they're very much stereotyped, and they all look like
YMCA.
They're village people.
Yeah, that's true.
They've all got handlebar mustaches and dress in leather, and they all tend to dance to the same song. El Bimbo, it's called.
Is it El Bimbo?
Yeah, and so you'll know it is. If you hear that song, you'll know where you are. This particular first one, what I remember from it is a scene which I don't think you could probably get away with now of Lassard giving this speech to a group of people, and he's on stage on a podium, and Mahoney smuggled this prostitute out of the who's there randomly, who's lurking around, and so they're stuck under this podium. And the commandant is given a basically while she's there, she sort of does something to him while he's speaking.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And this poor actor is trying to give this speech, or the commandant to the thing, and absolutely hilarious because he delivers it brilliantly. He's so
I wonder if it was actually happening.
We don't know, but he's very convincing. And then the punchline of the joke is as they walk off, he turns around to look, and Mahoney pops his head out instead of the girl. He comes out first, and so he looks absolutely horrified. But there's a great payoff at the end because when Mahoney graduates, he's standing in front of the podium, and then the same girl pops out, and then he sort of looks down and he looks over the commandant, and the commandant looks away. Sort of thing. So he knows it wasn't Mahoney.
It spawned such a good series of movies.
Yeah, because again, growing up, we'd always have these on TV, they'd be on video rather.
Or Bank Holiday, they'd always appear, wouldn't they?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter kind of which one you watched. We all knew who they were. All the characters are established in this one.
One of the big plot points in this film is they bring up like a little blurb when the film starts. Is that they want to recruit women into the police.
Right, that's right.
And
it starts.
Commissioner Hurst is annoyed about this because he talks to
Commissioner Hurst.
Yeah, and he said, "I don't believe you want to do this." He goes, "You remember the good old days, Lassard? Johnson's Lassard. Johnson's as far as the eye could see, and what a beautiful sight it was."
Great. So I mean, it shows how dated it was having women in the police.
Yeah.
I love them. I mean, it's
exactly.
They're harmless.
Not the time
harmless
capsule.
enough. They're almost in a way, as Alan mentioned, like carry-on films. They were like carry-on films. Like what we had here is very sort of cheeky, innuendo based, and girls with big boobs, and
especially this one,
and particularly this one.
It sparked off a wonderful series of movies, and I think I hold it in as high regard as I do as the Carry On movies. And it's obviously clearly America's answer to the Carry On movies, and I love it. I just for me the fourth one is the best, and when we get to that, we'll you know.
Oh yeah, you like that one?
It's my favourite one.
Great little series. He made them a lot of money, and
All right, so let's move on to
Romancing the Stone.
Romancing the Stone, yeah.
This is another sort of surprise hit this year. This is
Robert Zemeckis, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is Robert Zemeckis directing it, and before he wanted to do Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, he was again another Spielberg protege like Joe Dante was for Gremlins. He directed 2 films previously, maybe even 3. They all flopped, and this is basically his last throw of the dice to because Spielberg says, look, trust me, he's really going to, he's got something. I think he'll be a great director. And his previous films had flopped, so Michael Douglas was not only the star of the film, he was the producer. He worked very closely with Zemeckis on it. And the script was by a lady who was, funny enough, a waitress in a restaurant. Michael Douglas was talking to her, and she said, I got this idea for a script. She told him this idea and pitched it to him, and he bought it right there. And he paid $250,000 for it. And he actually preceded Raiders. It had Raiders elements, obviously, on it. It was marketed as a kind of Indiana Jones kind of spin-off, but it's not. It's its own thing in a weird way. It's basically a story of a woman who writes
romance novels.
Joan Wilder, played by beautiful Kathleen Turner, and her sister's kidnapped in Colombia. So she has to go to Colombia with this treasure map she's been sent in the mail. They said, we'll give you your sister if you give us this map, because the map leads to
El Corazon.
Emerald, isn't it? Emerald, diamond. It's huge. Along her travels, she basically meets Michael Douglas, who's like this kind of
wanderer, isn't he?
He's a wanderer. Yeah, he's at the beginning of the film. He's like collecting birds, exotic birds, or things in cages, and he agrees to take her to the next town where there's a phone. For a certain price, and so they go. But along the way, they get into these adventures, and the police are after them, as well as the great Danny DeVito, Little Ralph from who basically steals the film for me. He's the cousin of one of the kidnappers.
Zach Norman.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Ira.
You are the luckiest son of a bitch there ever was. She's here. She's there. They're great double act, and so Danny DeVito is basically after them as well, and the police, and so it lends to this kind of, the first half of the film is this kind of jungle adventure. It's that, and then the second half is them finding this diamond. They end up sort of following the map themselves, finding the diamond, and using that to we can exchange that and get the sister back. But of course, by the end of the film, everyone's after her, and you've got Danny DeVito's character and the kidnappers, as well as this evil character called General Zolo. Yeah, he's an extremely evil character.
This map is useless. They already have the stone.
he's very wicked. He has his own private army, and he kills people left, right, and centre, doesn't he? He kills some old woman, which he doesn't give the answers he wants.
Because he turns up in New York, doesn't he? He get the map himself, and he ends up killing someone there. Yeah,
he kills him cold blood. It's very, again, another PG. Wouldn't happen today. Particularly, his demise is very drawn out.
It's always cut on TV as well.
Because he says in the film, he always asks his victims, "How will you die? Will you die slow like a snail or fast like a shooting star?" Yeah. And so he dies like a snail. It's very horrific. It's a rollicking adventure. They're great chemistry, Douglas and Turner. It was such a big success. It spawned a sequel.
I think a couple of years later.
The next year.
Oh no, sorry. Yeah, sorry, it's next year.
The Jewel of the Nile, it was called. And it was, again, big box office, but not as good as...
there's a story for Jewel of the Nile, which I'll save for next time.
And I read they were going to do a third one called the Crimson
Eagle. It was an eagle set in Thailand,
Yeah, but they didn't. But no, I liked it. It's got great... had a great soundtrack. Alan Silvestri.
Yep.
Beautifully done.
It's got it all.
It's got it all. It was a surprise hit, and...
Exactly, and he got on the top 10 as well.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised about that. I'm surprised that did and Terminator didn't. But never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen this movie all the way through, I don't think. I think I've seen Jewel of the Nile all the way through.
Yeah.
But I just remember Kathleen Turner being really attractive.
Oh, she's stunning in this.
Yeah.
So, no, I love it. It's really good.
Good movie.
Not a good movie, but I love it. I just want to mention Supergirl.
Okay.
Just purely because I saw this at the cinema with my cousins. It's mainly me and my brother, and I had 2 cousins, and one was a girl, so we had to she was always being dragged to see all the boys stuff, like Temple of Doom, and she wanted to see Supergirl, so we went to see that. But I loved it. Again, I was like 5, but I just remember being extremely bowled over by Helen Slater as Supergirl.
It's very easy to do.
She was absolutely beautiful, and on a big screen it was because I thought, oh, it's Superman. We might see Superman. And apparently Christopher Reeve was supposed to cameo as Superman because she's his cousin. And
Convenient.
Yeah, no, it's still set in that universe, but they couldn't schedule it properly. So he does make a cameo of sorts in the dorm when she's at the college, and there's a poster of Superman on the wall, and they play the little Superman theme by John Williams. It's a nice little moment. That's actually better than probably having him cameo in the
it works.
film. Yeah, absolutely. With these great big eyes and blonde hair and thing, I was just absolutely smitten.
I've seen this a good few times. I remember seeing this a few.
Yeah,
I don't know
it's
whether
good.
it was on VHS or not.
It's not, say, a great film, but as kids, you don't know
but
if it's good or not. If it entertains you, it's great. And it was in the Superman universe. You had Jimmy Olsen, the photographer.
Yeah, he
from
was
Superman.
pretty much the connection, wasn't he?
He was the connection, really. And but you had a whole new cast. You had Faye Dunaway playing the villain Selena, and she's partnered with the wonderful Peter Cook, one of my favourite people. Very funny character as Nigel, the bored school teacher, who's also a warlock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got
with his Burundi wand.
Yes, a penchant for the.
With his what?
He's got some weird sort of.
The fuck?
I suppose it's something you'd probably find a witch doctor in Africa might have. Sorry if I've got that wrong, everybody, but that's what it kind of was off, and it rattles and that, and it's this weird thing that's.
And he does it all with a straight face.
Yeah,
she says, "What's that?" And it's got all these beads and things over it. He goes, "The Burundi wand, pure unadulterated evil."
Okay.
So and he shakes it while she's using her Omega head drum, so they're able to combine their powers together.
All right.
But because obviously Krypton's gone, where Superman came from, so there's like a separate colony of Krypton survivors who went on that planet. Kryptonians, excuse me.
So I never understood, because I'm sure at the end of the film she dives into the ocean and then and approaches her city, thinking, well, is her city on Earth or is it in, where is this?
Yeah, it's not really well explained, but she did emerge from the water at the start. So
I suppose.
It was. I don't think it was a big hit, but it was, all three of us had seen it, so it must have been popular. And I just wanted to shout it out because I was just smitten, and I think I still am.
So it's probably time to just round things up with our favourites, unless there's something else you wanted to bring.
There's a film I really love to talk about. It had a big impact on me when I saw it, and it's had a long impact on me. It's called Once Upon a Time in America. Come out this year, and it's Sergio Leone, who made these amazing spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood. And this was his first kind of gangster film. Well, it's his only gangster film because it's his last film. He died a few years after. But it's 4 hours in its completed length because there's lots of edited versions of it. But it's a story of Jewish American gangsters. It's not Italian gangsters or Irish gangsters. It's these Jewish American gangsters who, at the turn of the century, New York, start off as kids in the street and rise up as they get older. And then you have Prohibition era things, and then the third part of the story is them as old men. So when it's sprawling between all three time zones throughout the film, it flashes backwards and forwards. And the opening of the film is set in this Chinese opium den with De Niro's character Noodles smoking this opium, and he's in this kind of hazy dream, and that's how the story begins. And in this story, his best friend, played by James Woods, Max, they're the kings of the underworld in the prohibition business, and they've kind of taken it from the local mafia, whose chief is played in a cameo by Joe Pesci. And it's a nice little cameo from him and Burt Young, who was Paulie and Rocky. They sort of take the business from them. So but it's a great sprawling story with lots of flashbacks, and the cinematography is absolutely lush. The soundtrack by Ennio Morricone is probably his best. So and it is a film that deserves to be seen in its entirety, and it's a powerful film, some stark imagery, lots of violent imagery, and but lots of sweet imagery as well. I can't really explain. It features a very young Jennifer Connelly, so it's got all these different sort of elements. It's great, and De Niro's great, and it's very understated De Niro performance, from this previous year. With Rupert Pupkin as the king of comedy, is very over the top. This is very grounded. It doesn't get talked about as much as The Godfather or Goodfellas, but it's every bit as good.
Do you think it belongs in that
I think
category?
so. Yeah. He borrows a lot of elements of Godfather 2, in fact, of the tone and particularly with the flashbacks and flash forwards. You want to talk about
Neverending Story? Yeah. So Neverending Story is essentially about a kid who's being bullied, and he on one occasion where he's running away from some bullies, he runs into this bookstore, and he's got this weird ass book owner who's somehow gets him to pick up a book and run away with it. The kid runs to the school, and instead of going into class, he runs up into the attic to start reading the book. And essentially the film is what the book is. I don't know what it is about this film. I don't know whether it's the directing, I don't know whether it was the music, I don't know whether it was the acting, but it all came together in this kind of really wonderful fantasy universe. As a child, you're so emotionally invested, and you'll cry and you'll laugh. Essentially, the moral of the story is it's okay to dream and be a dreamer. You don't have to sort of follow everyone else's way, and if you are a daydreamer, then there are avenues for you to launch your career. I mean, look at artists and other people. So I just thought that was a wonderful example of showing youngsters that it's okay to sort of fly away with the fairies, essentially.
You saw it as a child then?
Yeah, I saw it many times as a child, and it affected me like the other films, Secret of Neem and Last Unicorn, the three ones that really sort of shaped me who I am today, actually.
This is the film with the little guy on the snail, right?
Yes, yeah. Yes. You've got Atreyu and his horse. And yes, the scene with the horse death is probably the most tragic scene I can think of in cinema history. I think everyone who watches it, who has a soul, will cry. Okay, so moving on from that, I just want to mention Amadeus briefly. Amadeus is another sort of probably heavy moral message with music and all that. Tells the story of Mozart's final days.
Yeah, it's told from this other character played by F. Murray Abraham.
Yes,
Salieri. And he won the Oscar for this film.
Okay.
I think it should have gone to Amadeus.
No, they both should have won, because it was equally just as good, but Salieri basically is helping Mozart complete his final composition, and ultimately when Mozart passes, Salieri passes off as his own, or tries to pass off as his own. But beautifully shot, great director, Milos Forman, who made Cuckoo's Nest, and the power of the music, Mozart. I mean,
no, but it's the guy who plays Amadeus's acting, what stands out for me. Because he was so passionate. It looked like he was coming all the time when he was playing the piano. It was absolutely brilliant, and I think it captivated me because it says that
he's a great actor.
Go with music, just run with whatever you feel. You don't have to stick to a format.
It holds up well. And he won pretty much all the top awards basically that year.
Good.
The Oscars.
Well, regrettably, I've not seen it.
No, it is rather special, that one.
I just want to mention another great film this year. I might put it in my little arty corner along with Once Upon a Time in America. Is a great film called Paris, Texas, made by German director Wim Wenders. But it stars Harry Dean Stanton and Dean Stockwell as brothers. Visually, it's so beautifully shot. Like I was saying to Pete on another occasion, it's like a almost neo-noir. The cinematography is absolutely incredible, as you'll probably see from the images. I've never seen anything like it, the way it's been shot. I guess having a European director in America lends itself to a different style of film. But the images speak for themselves, and the music punctuates everything. And Harry Dean Stanton is wonderful, because he very rarely gets such a chance to be a leading actor. He's always a supporting actor, like in Alien and The Green Mile and
Walking a Mile.
The Walking Mile. He's a great director. I just wanted to give this film a mention, because
of course, sure, man.
It really made an impact on me.
I briefly want to bring up 16 Candles, specifically Molly Ringwald for 16 Candles, because Molly Ringwald was treated really unfairly. I don't know the full story, but I think it involves Harvey Weinstein. So
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was this a John Hughes film?
I think he ruined her career, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I haven't seen the movie myself. I know, obviously it being a John Hughes movie, it's going to be sort of good. So yeah, just shout out to that, and specifically Molly Ringwald.
Just want to mention 2010, the year we made contact. Mm-hmm. This is a belated sequel to 2001, the great Stanley Kubrick film.
Oh, okay.
This is so it's 2010. Is based on the novel again by Arthur C. Clarke, where you go because the original 2001 had a lot of unanswered questions, and this film bravely attempted to answer what happened to the astronauts, why did the computer go mad, how, and and Roy Scheider leads the mission along with John Lithgow and Helen Mirren playing a Russian astronaut. It's a kind of co-American Russian mission in order to find out what happened. Beautifully shot, though. So all the sort of the 80s technology really sort of comes into play there. It uses elements of the film that Kubrick used, but it does its own thing without treading on the toes of what went before it. And,
sure, yeah.
But respectfully nods to the original. So I just want to give that a shout out.
Shout out to 1984 with John Hurt.
Yeah, this is a timely film. It's set in the year that it's written about. The George Orwell story of Big Brother is watching you.
Obviously, everyone's heard of the term Big Brother now, and the whole oppressive nature. So this is very much. I wouldn't say it was important. I say it goes beyond importance.
Yeah.
I say it was literally a gospel-esque warning of how we are definitely heading. We are heading towards this, so if not, I think it's pretty much happened. Yeah. If you're not aware,
big shout out to John Hurt playing Winston, the main character, who's you're forced to face your fears in Room 101. This is where that other great TV show comes from, and the final great performance from Richard Burton, the Welsh voice.
Yeah,
absolutely powerful. It's a great final film for him.
A little thing for me that year was. Caravan of Courage. It was an Ewok movie, spawned off from.
Oh, what Ewok movie?
Ewok movie, yeah.
Really?
George was upset about the holiday special, the ill-famed holiday special, and he was shopping around like an Ewok story, and ABC were interested, but only if it was a movie.
Yeah.
So they turned it into a movie about this family who crash land on Endor. The parents are taken away by this hulking, massive, giant thing called Golrax or something.
Live action or
it's live action.
Oh wow!
And the Ewoks basically find these kids and help them recover their parents, and the creature effects are fucking terrible. But the Ewoks look good.
I just want to give a couple of little shout outs. The Bounty with Anthony Hopkins and Mel Gibson.
It's William Bligh.
Captain William Bligh. It's the mutiny on the Bounty.
On the horn.
Not to be confused with the chocolate bar.
No, but it's nice to have a bounty while you're watching this.
It's Vangelis as well, isn't it?
Yeah, beautiful score by Vangelis, man.
Oh yes, my boy Vangelis. Yeah,
I think originally it was developed as a project for David Lean, but before he got too sick and then he passed away, so he went to Roger Donaldson Films.
Liam Neeson's in this as well, isn't he?
Great, yeah. One of the first role for Liam Neeson and Daniel Day-Lewis playing a rather snooty, horrible character, and John Sessions. Wonderful John Sessions is in it. Very young Dexter Fletcher.
You mentioned John Sessions. It's completely irrelevant here, but I actually saw a guy yesterday when I was walking home from the supermarket. He actually looked like John Sessions. I had to do a double take because I thought it was him.
Brilliant.
I was going to tap on the shoulder and go, T.S. Eliot.
We've all shot on location in Tahiti. Also, want to give a shout out to Body Double, great Brian De Palma film.
Okay.
This is another Hitchcock type thriller. It's like a Rear Window type thing of spying on someone, but with an 80s highly sexualized thing with a violence thing of the killer who's uses a drill to kill his victims. But it's very slickly done, and it features a great promo of a video promo of Frankie Goes to Hollywood right in the middle of it. They're making this kind of high budget porno film with starring Melanie Griffiths. Just want to give that a shout out.
Thanks, Frankie.
Thank you, Frankie. This is Spinal Tap, another cult film. This created the fake documentary genre. It's none bettered by this. The actors in it are absolutely brilliant. They're American, but their English accents are brilliant. And also, final shout out, the Woman in Red with Gene Wilder. I just wanted to mention it's the beautiful Kelly LeBrock. I saw this as a young child and was enchanted. She's just absolutely stunning, and Gene Wilder is just hilarious. He directs this, also stars of it. It's a remake of a French film. Very funny, great supporting cast, but a great soundtrack by Stevie Wonder. He performs all the songs in the film. I think it won the Oscar that year. That I Just Called to Say I Love You. But it's Gene Wilder, and you can't help but love the guy. He can make you laugh 1 minute and make you cry, and he's just very special talent. Gene.
Yeah. All in all, this year really kind of, if you want to pick out a year which defines the 80s, you got to say it's 84.
I think it is. You know?
And
This is very
science
much the year.
fiction was a big thing for this decade as well. Very big. Thank you, everyone, for sitting and listening to us talk about 84. We really love 80s movies, and as I keep saying, it's the golden age of movies, and this is when, you know, everything was perfect for as far as I'm concerned.
And there's even more to come next year. Yeah.
We're going to sign off, so say goodbye, Ellen.
Au revoir.
And Muggles.
Arrivederci.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.